Welcome to the Legends of Boxing Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The Legends of Boxing Show is brought to you by the Retired Boxers Foundation and MyBookie.ag. I'm your host for the show, Mike Goodpaster, and today our guest is one of the best trainers in the game, also a former two-time world boxing champion. Help me welcome to the Grueling Truth, James Buddy McGirt. How you doing, buddy?
Okay, how's it going?
All right. So, hey, tell us a little bit what it was like growing up in Long Island and when you first discovered and started boxing.
Long Island, growing up there, I can say was a great experience. To me, it was a great place to grow up because you had all races, all nationalities. You had everybody there. So it wasn't like, there was none of that segregation BS or you too good for me, and I'm too good for you. It wasn't like that. You know what I mean? Everybody borrowed sugar from everybody, black, white, yellow, green, purple. So it was a great experience going up there.
All right. And when did you first start boxing?
1976. I was 4 years old. I was watching Vito Antifermo box a guy named Georgie Ficaris.
Okay.
And they were killing each other. I said, I want to box, but I don't want to look like them.
So did you participate in any other sports, or were you always just a boxer?
Okay, I played Little League football for a year and a half, but the only problem in Little League football, I had problems finding helmets that fit my head.
Yeah.
So I used to get headaches every other play, so I had to do to my helmet because all the helmets were too small for me.
Yeah, and back then they weren't too worried about fitting helmets correctly either, I don't think.
No. My head was big. It wasn't about fitting correctly. It was about just fitting, period. Like my face matched me up on my eyes.
Well, I think mine when I was 8, the bad thing was because I would have been like 8 in 1976, 77, and they used to actually put us with 8-year-olds to 12-year-olds all played together. So all the 8-year-olds ended up being on the line.
We played in the same age group. You know what I mean? But the difference was that they had weight class like this. You couldn't be over a certain weight, which wasn't my problem. I was too light.
Yeah.
But my problem was just getting the helmet to fit me.
All right,
so I had a big head plus an afro.
Well, so you talked a little bit about your size. Did your size kind of motivate you to go into boxing and kind of prove everybody wrong?
You know, what really motivated me was just the fact that in boxing, it's one-on-one. It's just you and the other guy at the end of the day. And it's your job to outsmart him. And I always love using my brain in situations like that. And I just thought it would be just fun doing it.
Yeah, and you never have to blame somebody else for the reason why you lost.
Exactly.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your amateur career. Did you have any early influences, maybe trainer-wise, anything like that?
I would say the influences came from people just in the neighborhood because we had so many good athletes in my neighborhood. But they weren't doing anything with the athletic ability.
Yeah.
And they were just hanging out in the corner every day, drinking, hanging out, having fun, smoking, living life. And instead of taking advantage of their ability, they didn't do that.
So really we could say that your early influences was that you saw what other people did and how they failed, and you were kind of determined not to be like that.
I'm not going to use the word fail. I'm going to use the word that they just refused to take it the next step. I'm not going to say fail because they're all good friends of mine to this day. You know, the ones that are still alive, you know. So they just was just content on doing what they were doing. And I just felt that, you know, if I can go further, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah. All right. So your decision to turn pro, was that something you knew from an early age that this was going to be what you did?
Well, I was in a kind of a messed up situation. My father just passed away. and my girlfriend had just got pregnant, and I was a senior in high school. So I thought if I turned pro, I'd be rich overnight. But that didn't happen.
Yeah, it takes a while to get to where you make the big money.
My first fight, I got $200. My first fight was on a Tuesday night. It was March 2nd, 1982. I'll never forget. I was in school all day, and I got out of school, went home, grabbed a sandwich, boom, went to the fight in Jersey. And I fought a draw against a kid named Lamont Hayes, coach, who was like 4-0 with 2 knockouts, 3 knockouts. And when they gave me the $200, I was like, "Shit, I'm good. I'm good for at least 2 weeks." But I forgot my girlfriend was pregnant. So that $200 lasted me maybe 3 days.
Yeah, until that first doctor's bill came.
Thank you very much.
The doctor bills will kick your ass.
I was like, damn. And then my next fight, I got $675. It was a week before my prom, my second pro fight.
Yeah.
And I thought I was rich then. But
so were you already working with Al Certo and Stuart Warner, or was that Weiner, or was that?
I got with them after my first fight.
Okay.
My first fight, I fought Al Certo's fighter.
So
they called me on a Thursday. Yeah, they called me on a Thursday to fight on Tuesday.
All right, and you started off your career, I mean, you did really well. Then you met up with a guy by the name of Frankie Warren, who was a very good fighter, more experienced than you, I believe, at that time, too. How did that first loss to Frankie affect you? Did it change the way you did anything?
It just made me a better fighter. You know, after I lost to him, I left the arena, I'll never forget, and I walked from the arena to the hotel, which is like a mile-and-a-half walk. And when I got to the hotel, I put it behind me. And everybody else was upset. I walked by myself. I didn't want nobody to walk with me. I went by myself. And when I got to the hotel, I put it behind me. And I'm like, if I'm going to be a champion, these are things I got to deal with. And I got to accept them and make myself better. And when I got to the hotel, my manager got to the hotel. I said, "Look, where's my next fight?" He looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Look, man, okay, we lost. It's not the end of the damn world." He said, "Oh, we could have had a title fight." I'm like, "Who gives a fuck? It just ain't our time. But right now, we got to move on, man. I'm not going to sit here and dwell on this."
Yeah, and I had Caleb Truax on earlier today, who just won the IBF super middleweight title. And that's what he talked about. He had 2 or 3 losses. One of them was a bad loss to one of the Durrell brothers last year. And he said that only made him stronger. And I think a lot of times nowadays, everybody's so caught up in being undefeated that they forget that most great fighters learn from losing fights.
That's what determines who you are as a person, as a man. How you come back from it.
Yeah, because anybody can do it when everything's going great. It's what happens when things don't go great and how you respond to them.
Exactly.
So
you know, I didn't dwell on it, and I came back in. I got right back on. I fought 2 months later.
Yeah, and you get on a little bit of a winning streak again. You fought a guy by the name of Saul Mambi, which is a guy I remember watching growing up. Technically a really good fighter. You want to talk a little bit about your fight with Mambi?
It was a great learning experience fighting Saul Mambi because he was one of the smartest guys I've ever been in the ring with.
Yeah, and he's a really underrated fighter.
Yeah, very underrated, but a hell of a fighter. And he was 39 years old. I was 22. And some people had me as an underdog because he was a former world champion. And they said, "Buddy, you're not going to beat him." I'm like, "All right, time will tell." I mean, and, you know, but it was a great – beating him took me to another level as a fighter.
Yeah. And then off of that, you got a rematch with Frankie Warren. And not only did you get to avenge your earlier defeat, you also had to realize what was your lifelong dream of becoming a world champion.
Yeah.
So
it was great.
Yeah, what did you do in that fight? How did you change your game plan from the first fight? You said how much you'd learned from that fight. I mean, how did you change the way you came at him to be able to get the victory the second time?
Well, I tried to outbox him, but he wouldn't let me do that. So I just had to beat him at his own game.
Yeah, and that had to be a great feeling for you to be there and be the world champion.
I mean, it's something you can't really explain. If you to try to explain to somebody that feeling, you can't.
Yeah. But then you went on, and you fought a great fighter, another one that's underrated that people forget about a little bit more than what they should, was the 1984 Olympic gold medalist Meldrick Taylor. You lost the title to him, I believe, in the second fight, and Taylor was a great fighter.
Yeah. I mean, do you know I fought 1, 2, 3 Olympic gold medal winners?
Yeah, were those all from 84?
Nope.
Because you had Taylor, Whitaker.
Davis, God bless him.
Who was the third one?
Howard Davis.
Howard Davis, that's
Davis.
right. Yeah.
God bless him.
Yeah, 1976.
He didn't do this work. But Howard Davis.
All right, and another great fighter you ended up beating. You actually won the lineal welterweight title over Simon Brown. I think 3 years later. Simon Brown's another guy that I think is kind of forgotten that shouldn't be. He was a great fighter also, and it had to mean a lot after 3 years to get that back.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, I was a 10-1 underdog in that fight, and they didn't expect me to win it, of course. And, I pulled an upset. So it was a great feeling winning a second world title in a different weight class.
All right, now I've read that, after that fight, that you had an injury to your left shoulder that kind of affected the rest of your career. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, did you have that injury before the Whitaker fight?
Yeah. I tore my rotator cuff.
Yeah. And it just never healed correctly?
No.
All right, so you fought Pernell Whitaker. You also lost a rematch to him. But you want to talk to us a little bit about fighting Pernell Whitaker? I think that he was one of the greatest lightweights of all time, and he was still pretty damn good at welterweight.
Oh, listen, he was a very good fighter. But what made him even better was he had a great trainer in his corner by the name of Georgie Benton.
Yeah. Yeah, Georgie was one of the greatest trainers of all time, I think.
Without a doubt.
But you had him, guys like Ray Arcel. What led you to become a trainer when you got out?
If you want to know the truth, the day after I started boxing in 1976, I wanted to become a trainer.
Yeah.
Why so it was always my dream, even as a fighter. I don't know, I guess the thought of teaching people. I mean, to help make them better.
And from watching you, it seemed like you were more of a mental practitioner of the sport anyways. So you probably see guys like that all along, or you fight fighters that have a ton of talent that are just kind of missing something. So maybe it was something where you wanted to impart your wisdom onto them.
Right.
Yeah, and the other thing... go ahead.
I'm trying to, just, like I said, the thought of helping somebody accomplish their goal, to me, was the big accomplishment than winning the world title.
Yeah. So to you, the feeling of training a world champion was even greater than becoming the world champion?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I said, so the feeling of training a world champion actually is comparable or maybe even better to actually winning the championship yourself?
Yeah. Especially if you get a guy take a guy who's an underdog.
Yeah.
If people don't think he's going to do it, and he pulls it off.
Well, I think your first champion was 6 days after you started training, wasn't it, Byron Mitchell?
You know, it's the funny part. I trained Byron 5 days for the fight. We trained 5 days for the fight, and he won the title in the last round with about 15 seconds left. So it was a hell of an experience. But my first champion though wasn't Byron. It was James Page.
Okay, he was an '84 Olympian too, wasn't he?
No.
No, that's Jerry Page. That's Jerry Page. I got you. Yeah.
James Cage is WBA welterweight champion.
All right, and that had to be special to take a guy. Did you take him from the start, or did you?
No. He was already a champion when I started training him.
Okay, then you came on. All right, so right. I would think that the biggest thing to being a trainer is not really that you're a trainer, but more of a teacher. You want to talk a little bit about that, and maybe something you do different that other trainers might?
What do I do different? Yes, I do a lot different. I'm just an old school guy.
Yeah.
So when I have a different way of doing things, because at the process of training the guy, I also like to make it fun. I don't like to make it monotonous and boring every day.
Yeah, because if you do that, he's going to become stale and not really improve.
Exactly.
All right, so who was the greatest trainer do you think that you've ever been around, that you've ever worked with or seen work? Would it be Georgie Benton?
Oh, man. Let me tell you, Georgie, Eddie Futch, I could go on and on and on. I could go on and on and on. There's so many great trainers. Bill Miller.
With James Toney.
Yeah, Luther Burgess. Just so many great trainers, man. It was, you can go on and on. It was unbelievable. But I had the pleasure of spending time with guys like Eddie Futch, 2 or 3 hours in the gym, some every other day when I was in Vegas. So those are things, and you take all that knowledge and you put it in your mind, you keep it there.
Yeah. All right, so you want to tell everybody some of the fighters that you're training today?
Well, right now I got Mr. Lipinets that you mentioned earlier. He's fighting Matthew Garcia in February. And February 10th on Showtime. And then I have another kid that I can't pronounce his name. So please don't ask me to.
Oh, I do a weekly boxing show, buddy, and every week there's at least one kid that I have no idea how to pronounce his name.
I can't pronounce. Then I have the Lopez brothers, Adam and Hector Lopez. Dejan Ladakanian. Sounds like a dance, so I'm doing the Dejan Ladakanian. But I got a new kid. I just got this the other day. I can't pronounce his name, but they call him. Wait a minute. I can't even go there. But this kid is he's a real McCoy.
Well, see, I had Thomas Triber on, the ring announcer, and he offered to come on the show from time to time and just pronounce the Russian kids and the foreigners. I couldn't do.
That's what I do. So. I'll text you his name. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, shit. It is something like it. Oh my God, his name is. What's his first name? It's AKHM. It's AKHMADALIEV.
Okay.
His last name is. Thank you. His last name is MURODJON.
Yeah.
He's a silver melon.
In the 70s and 80s, everybody would just name like Scott and Larry.
Yeah, Scott and Larry. That's not Scott. That's not Larry. That's not even Benjamin.
So what's your take on, who are some of your favorite fighters presently that, what did you think of Billy Joe Saunders Saturday night?
You know what? He looked very good. I got to give it to him. He looked very good. He really surprised me. I never seen him fight, but he can fight.
Well, see, I saw him fight I saw video of him against Chris Eubank Jr. and a couple other fights, and I know that since that time he's gotten a new trainer, and he looked like a completely different fighter Saturday night.
I've never seen him fight, but he looked really good, and I go with him, and I go with my man Terrence Crawford.
Oh yeah, I think Terrence is number one pound for pound.
Yeah.
So how do you think Crawford matches up against Errol Spence?
He beats all the welterweights.
That's what I think too. How about the heavyweight division? A little Wilder and Joshua.
I would like to see a rematch with Klitschko and Joshua.
Yeah, me too. That was a good fight. I think
That was a hell
Klitschko
of a good
realized,
fight.
though, that he's not going to get any better, and Josh was probably going to get better just because of the age of the two.
Right.
And
But I would like to see the Wilder Joshua fight.
you do want to see or don't want to see?
Hey, I do want to see it, without a doubt.
Who do you like in that one?
The black guy.
Are you talking about the American black guy or the English black guy?
I'm just saying the black guy.
Because, see, when I look at that fight, the thing that stands out to me is this. You just talked about it. Joshua's been through hell with Klitschko and has proven he could survive that and win. So right now, I would lean towards him a little bit just because I think that one fight against Klitschko, he probably learned more than Wilder learned in all his fights together.
True.
Now,
Very good point there.
Now, tomorrow, I'm interviewing Mark Breland, so tomorrow I'm all on the Wilder train. But for right now,
Okay.
I'm going to go with Joshua.
When you speak to Mark, can you ask if I get my $20?
All right, I will. If you want,
Okay.
I'll just let you call in and ask him.
No, just say Buddy McGirt wants his $20.
All right, I'll make a note of that. I will bring it up to him.
All right. Thank you.
All right, buddy. I'll let you go. We would love to have you back on sometime, Mo, especially when there's some fights
Just call
coming
me
up next
anytime.
week.
It's my pleasure.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. All right, guys.
Take care.
Yep, thank you.
Bye.
All right, guys, earlier today, and you can find them on the website tonight, we interviewed former heavyweight contender Ron Stander. We also interviewed, I don't know, we do so many of these, they all kind of run together after a while and I forget. But tomorrow, Caleb Truex, the new super middleweight champion of the world, was on the show. That's already up on the website. Tomorrow, live at 4 o'clock Eastern, you can hear Mark Breland, one of the greatest amateur boxers in American Olympic history. Also a two-time welterweight champion. Also at 5:30 tomorrow Eastern Time, you'll be able to hear Ernie Shavers, who went two great fights with Larry Holmes, had a title shot against Muhammad Ali. And if you heard the Ron Stander interview today, Ron said that he punched harder than any boxer he'd ever fought before, and he fought guys like Frazier. So we'll have Ernie on tomorrow at 5:30, and then tomorrow night at 9:30, personally one of my favorites, a guy I can't wait to talk to, former light heavyweight and cruiserweight title contender Yaki Lopez. So make sure you check that out there, because of course we're going to have to ask Yaki about fighting Matthew Saad Muhammad. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. I want to remind you, you can hear all of our shows on iHeart, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. And remember, check out the Retired Boxers Foundation. You can find it on Facebook. Alex Ramos is with them, does a great job. You can also message Alex on Facebook. But check out the Retired Boxers Foundation. It's for a good cause to help some of these former champions that have some problems, whether it's physically or monetarily. So make sure you check them out. So for James Buddy McGirt, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.